I'm Jeremy Counseller, Dean of Baylor Law School, and welcome to the Counselor Corner podcast. I am very pleased to be joined today by second-year law student Gia Lewis. Gia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Talk to me just a little bit about your journey to law school and a little bit about the background that led you here.
Yeah, so I will start by saying law school was never really on my radar. So I went into undergrad, I went to UT, and I actually went in thinking I was going to go into med school. So I was pre-med track. COVID kind of came along, changed things for me. I had to sit down, really think about what I wanted. And for a while, I didn't really know. So for a while, I thought I would go into administration, thought about teaching, and then my mom actually sat me down, was the one who was like, you should be a lawyer. Like, I think you have really good skills with people. You know, you're a good writer. And so after some time reflecting, that's what I came to decide. And so I took an off year after undergrad, took the LSAT, applied to Baylor, and now I'm here and I'm really happy about it.
What else did you do in your off year?
Yeah, so I worked at Anthropologie, actually. I was a part-time manager at the store, which I really loved. I love clothes a lot, and I loved working retail because you never really know like who you're going to encounter, and it was like really challenging for me, I think, at first to like interact with individuals and not know what you're going to get day to day, but it really exposed me to a lot of different things, and I think actually helped me prepare for law school.
How so?
I would say like interacting with clients, right? You never know what your client needs, and just being like empathetic, and also just being able to like manage so many different things at once, but also be present with someone. I think it just really helped with those people skills for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's great. I mean, we serve people as lawyers. It's
Yeah.
it's a people business. So I think that connection you've made is true and it has a lot of significance. So you're a second year law student now. You finished your first year.
Yes.
What was the biggest challenge of your first year of law school, you think? Academically, I mean.
Yeah, I think just being in such a competitive environment was very challenging for me. I think you're always like competing in school, right? But Baylor, it's a smaller school. It's so rigorous, and it was very difficult to me because I felt like I'm doing all the things I need to do, and I still wasn't getting those results I really wanted, and I couldn't help but compare myself to my peers. And it was very difficult for me to get out of that. I never really encountered like imposter syndrome or anything before, but being here, it was like the first time I really did. So I think just like accepting that that's kind of part of the experience sometimes, and really having like a growth mindset, I would say. So just from there, really trying to sit down and focus on what I needed. And from there, I was able to really build great connections with my professors and adapt. And I think that was definitely like my biggest challenge in law school.
Talk more about imposter syndrome, what that is, because I think a lot of people feel that in law school.
Yeah, I think imposter syndrome, the best way to describe it is just feeling like you're not meant to be here. And for me, I just, in comparing myself to my peers, I'm seeing them doing the things I'm doing, and I'm like, why is it not working for me? But it's working for them. And so I think it's a very real experience. I think a lot of people go through it for different reasons. I am a first-gen student, and it was never something that really weighed down on me or bothered me, but I think this was the first environment where I really sat down and thought about it, and it made me feel insecure. But I think just accepting those feelings and learning like it's okay to not be where I hope to be, and that I can still grow, really helped me. And I think having this growth mindset has made my law school experience obviously so much more enjoyable, but it actually makes me enjoy the challenges I face in class. Like sometimes if I don't understand, that's okay, because I will get there. Yeah. And that's something to look forward to.
Well, and you've actually done something about that. In my understanding, you have helped to form the first generation law student organization.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So the org actually was in place last year. It just wasn't very active. And so going into this year, I really wanted to have like an org where we could meet together, just students, and I think share those experiences, because I know like myself last year, I was very stressed all the time. I mean, I would go and cry in professors' offices and stuff. And I think sometimes it's hard to talk about that with people. And so I wanted to really give like a voice to students. So I, along with another student, Curtis Hilton, we have brought the group back together, and it's been really exciting. We've had one event kind of prepping for Firm Connections, and it was like a practice mixer, teaching like etiquette and all the different things you wouldn't necessarily think of when you go into
Is that the one Anita High School
Yes,
did? Yeah.
yes. And then we've had a general meeting, just, hearing what students want to ask, know, and kind of bridging those gaps with students and professors. So, yeah.
Well, so I was a first generation college grad too, and when I came to law school, I had a lot of the same feelings that you're describing.
Yeah.
I was not familiar with the term imposter syndrome. I don't know if it existed at the time or not. But it would have been really helpful to me to have an organization like the First Gen organization that you've revived, because there can be a feeling of I'm alone in this,
Yes.
and you're not.
Yes.
I mean, and it's a cliche, but misery loves company. And as soon as you have other people are feeling the same way, you feel a lot better.
It definitely makes you feel better. I mean, I remember like being a first year student and everyone's telling you like it gets better, and you're in the moment, right? You aren't receptive to that. And so it was very crazy to me to have our meeting and have students talking about like, I feel this way, I'm really stressed. And I'm like, you're in that moment, and I understand. Like, it really was like a full circle moment for me, I think. And just, it made me happy we had the org, because knowing now what I know, it makes me excited to help students who are in that place. So, yeah.
Okay. Talk more about you mentioned this event, the networking event and the etiquette event with Anita High School. Talk more about that event, because that seemed to be very well received by the students.
Yeah, so we partnered with Dean Bridges as well as Ms. Catherine Sims, and we just kind of were thinking about like things we had went through as first year students, and what came to mind was Firm Connections, because Firm Connections is like that first instance where students really get to network and meet law firms and all those different things. But I remember going into Firm Connections and I was like, I have no idea what to ask.
Yep.
When we're eating food, like, how do you handle that? Like, there was just so many things I didn't know. And while the CDO does great prep for us, I think it would have been really nice to have got that experience beforehand. And so we really focused on creating an environment like that. And we had Miss Anita High School come, and she led basically a seminar for the students in which they were taught some different etiquette rules. And then they got to practice that with their peers, which is also really nice, because I think you're comfortable with your peers. So if you mess up, it's the perfect place to have that first opportunity.
I completely agree, and I love that the organization is doing that. I can remember, as you mentioned, so you start to network with law firms in search for your job, and it's like, we're at a meal, I don't know which fork to use.
Yeah.
I mean, what's this one up here on the top of the plate for, and which one's bread and which one's drink and all that.
Right.
I also remember when it came time for the in-school moot court competition, I didn't know how to tie a tie.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
It's
I didn't know how to
real,
tie a
yeah.
tie.
I mean-
And so somewhere there, my classmates, some of them anyway, have a memory of my moot court partner standing in front of me and tying a tie, or both of us standing in front of a mirror and he's showing me how to do it. And at the time, it was really stressful. Looking back, I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything.
Yeah.
So all that stuff, I think, is truly stressful at the time. It becomes a joy and a strength down the road.
Yes.
But that your organization is getting into that space, I think is fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
I commend you for it.
Thank you.
My understanding is you're also involved in BALSA.
Yes.
Talk about what BALSA is. It's an acronym,
Yes.
but what the organization is about.
So BALSA stands for Black Law Student Association, and basically it's just a space for like Black law students to come together. We do a lot of social events, but we also have a lot of academic support within each other. Dina Spree, she's new this year, and she's been really great just coming in BALSA, giving us like just a great like faculty support, I think. But yeah, BALSA is very much so, I would say, focused on just supporting and sharing what it's like to be a Black law student, because, we're minorities, and I think sometimes it can just be a little uncomfortable, I think, to be so obviously different from your other students and peers. And so I think BALSA has just been a great environment, especially for me. I can say, like, when I was struggling last year, and even now when I struggle in school, it's nice to go and have people that are the same as me, and I can relate to them. So
BALSA also puts on some events for the broader law school community, particularly during Black History Month. Can you talk about some of those activities?
Yeah. So right now we have a screen together, and it's showing some MLK speeches as well as books. And that's really great because, we know about MLK like on a surface level, but Sam Smith does a really great job of just teaching us further things that the general public doesn't know. Likewise, we're going to have a event come in for a PDP. This man's going to come and speak to us. He's a lawyer, and he focuses on the victims who were affected by the situation in Tulsa, and he's going to be really great. I hope it's going to be a great event for everyone to come. You're going to be there as well, I heard. So I'm very excited. But yeah, I think BALSA just does a great job of, giving outreach, and not only for Black students, I think all students, but we are focused on Black students and making sure that they feel comfortable in their experience, dealing with things like imposter syndrome and how that also intersects with our identity as Black students and things like that. So just being support.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the event you mentioned. I'm going to participate in that. What advice would you give to students out there who are thinking about law school, maybe Baylor Law School, but just going to law school in general, particularly those who might be first-generation law students like you, first-generation college grads?
Yeah. I think the advice I would give is don't be afraid to network and ask questions. Like, I am a very shy person, I will say. Because of that, too, it kept me from going out asking those basic questions I had even before law school. And I think that's something that can really help with imposter syndrome, because you also come in against people who have a little more background, have more experience in resources, and there are people out there who want to help first-gen students, who just want to help students in general, and really take advantage of those resources, take advantage of those people, because what may seem like a silly question, it's not going to be. And someone's always going to be receptive and want to help you. So I definitely would encourage students, reach out to anyone you meet who wants to support you, and they will.
You mentioned that you're shy. You're also very poised and right now. But I think a lot of people come to law school and they think, well, I'm going to be a lawyer, and therefore I need to be very gregarious and kind of this big personality, and I can't be an introvert and I can't be shy. And that's just really not true, because there's so many different ways to practice law, participate in the legal profession. I mean, it takes all types of personalities can excel in the profession. What do you think the future holds for you after law school? What are your career ambitions?
So I hope to go into insurance defense. That's what I did last summer, and it's what I'll be doing this summer. I'm very excited about it. I know it sounds a little boring. It's insurance and contracts, but I think it's quite fun. So that's what the future holds for me. I'm very excited about it.
So litigation.
Yes, litigation. It'll be fun. I know I'm shy, like I said, but I don't know. When I get in a courtroom, I feel a little more comfortable, and I feel like I step into like a different role almost, in a sense. So it's very fun to me.
I wouldn't want to be on the other side of you in a courtroom. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of you, though.
They would hate me in comparison to you. Okay, we have a lightning round.
Okay.
Here's some lightning round questions. If you could live anywhere in the world for a year, where would it be and why?
I think I would want to live in Italy, because then I could eat for a full year Italian food and not feel guilty about it, and travel and look at history and all of that. Yeah.
I think that's a great answer. If you could instantly master one hobby or sport, what would it be?
Oh, I wish I could draw. Like, I really wish I could draw.
Yeah. So you can't.
No, I'm a terrible.
Neither can I. Favorite childhood TV show or movie?
That's a good question. My favorite childhood movie, still favorite movie, is this 1940 movie, Rebecca. It's really good. I don't know if you're familiar, but
I'm not. I'm writing it down. That was a surprising answer.
Yeah.
Intriguing. 1940.
1940, black and
it
white.
Has sound and all that?
Has sound, yeah, but it's an old one.
Okay, are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a morning person.
Favorite restaurant in Waco?
In Waco, I love Cajun Craft. It's my favorite.
I do too.
It's my favorite. It's so good.
I do
You
too.
can't find a good gumbo, but like in Waco of all places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic answer. Okay. If you could have any animal as a pet, not a dog, not a cat, not a goldfish, what would you pick?
A monkey, because they're so cute and they kind of dangle around. They've got good character. They're interesting.
Okay. I don't like that as much as the Cajun Craft answer. Monkeys kind of scare me. And I think they should scare you a little more than they do.
They're a little scary.
All right. I understand you have a question for me.
Yes, I have a question. So what would you say in your legal career was your biggest failure, and how did you kind of navigate that? How did that shape your career going forward?
Biggest failure. This is not a dodge to the question. I've had a number of failures. I mean, I've lost cases, and I don't. How did I handle it? I would just say time heals all wounds. It's just if you. I said it takes. All kinds of personalities can be a lawyer, but the one thing we tend to have in common is we don't want to lose.
Right.
We don't want to lose. But certainly if you're going to be in litigation, there are going to be times when you lose, and I think you have to learn to take it in stride. And unfortunately, the way you learn to take it in stride is you lose.
Yeah.
You know, but there's all sorts of situations. If I could, people always say, I don't have any regrets. I got some regrets.
Yeah.
If I could go back and do things differently, I would do them differently. But I think time heals all wounds, and I also, in terms of how you handle it, it's important to keep perspective on what really matters in your life. And one of the things that I try to remind myself is, and we actually talked about this around the law school recently, is you want to try to be joyful. Mm-hmm. And the way to be joyful is to be grateful for the things that are good and positive in your life. And it's the gratitude that leads to the joy, not the joy that leads to the gratitude. Yes. That you like, I'm grateful because I have joy. No, you're going to have some joy because you're grateful. And so even in those times where you're taking some losses, to kind of have that moment where you say, I lost this case, or this other thing went wrong, but here are the things in my life that are good and that I'm grateful for. And I think it puts it all in perspective.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Gia, it's been great.
Thank you.
It's been delightful to have you on.
Yes, I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Good.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.